All right. Hello, class. Today we are going to work on understanding how elements are grouped on the periodic table and a little bit more specific about certain groups on the periodic table. The first thing is it's important for you to know that there are horizontal rows, as you can see, across the periodic table, and those are called periods. Groups are the columns on the periodic table. They're also known as families. The groups are 1 through 18, and that has to do with how many valence electrons there are, which we're going to dig a little bit deeper to during class. Right now, on your periodic table and your notebook entry, I would like you to show where the periods are as far as the rows, and then also label the columns as groups or families. Anytime you need to pause during this presentation, please do so. So, we're going to continue adding on to your periodic table in your notebook and going to draw in a zigzag line. If you look in the diagram, upper right corner of the presentation, there's a zigzag line that runs across the right side of it. These elements that surround the zigzag line are called metalloids, which we're going to get to more information about these later. But the zigzag line also separates the metals, which are on the left side of the periodic table, from the nonmetals, which are on the right side of the periodic table. After you finish drawing in the zigzag line, make sure you put it in the right place. I also want you to circle Al, which stands for aluminum. Aluminum is not a metalloid. It is a metal. It is the only one that's kind of different from the other ones that touch the staircase or zigzag line. So in order to move on and to really talk about the differences between metals and metalloids and nonmetals, which are three major groupings of elements on the periodic table, we need to talk about what a property is, because all elements have different properties, while some groups of elements have some similar properties. Properties can help identify and classify substances. So, a physical property is a characteristic of a substance that can be observed without changing it into a different substance. Examples of physical properties that you can test for to try to help you identify and classify a substance is freezing point, density, hardness, texture, color, solubility, state of matter at room temperature, and many more. We are going to do some labs to explore physical properties. Chemical properties include things, it's a characteristic to describe a substance's ability to change into a different substance. So a lot of times when you're talking about the chemical properties of a substance, you're talking about how reactive the substance is with other substances. Reactivity, the definition, is the ease and speed that it combines with other elements to form a new substance. As you move from left to right on the periodic table, the reactivity of an element decreases. So, for example, if we go back one slide and I look at iron is the metal because it's on the left side of the zigzag line, but so is gold. Gold is also to the left side. But because iron to the left, it is more reactive than gold. Iron mixed with oxygen will not react as much as gold mixed with oxygen reacts. So moving on, now that we've had a little bit of an introduction about the two types of properties, physical and chemical, and a little bit about what a physical property is compared to a chemical property, we're going to talk about metals and metalloids and nonmetals. Physical properties of metals, many of them have these characteristics. They are shiny and reflect light. If you think about some of the metals that you see out there, this is normally what you would see. Silver, gold, iron, all those are silver, or all those are shiny and reflect light. They also can be solid at room temperature except for one. So all of them are solid except for one, and that's mercury. Mercury at room temperature is a liquid. All metals are conductive, which means they transfer heat and electricity very well. We'll be using this to help us at the end of the year. Many metals are malleable, which means that it can be hammered into thin sheets. I'll show you an example during class. Another physical property of metals is that they're ductile. They can be stretched into thin wires. And last but not least, usually metals have higher density than nonmetals. So the chemical properties is metals are reactive. Remember, the ones that are further left are going to be more reactive than the ones that are closer to the zigzag line. At this time, I would like you to color all of the metals on your chart, including aluminum, a light blue, so you can still see the information. I would also like you to make a key in the top center of your chart and write metals in blue, so we know that the blue colored area of the periodic table are metals. Once you're done with that, we're going to move on to learning about nonmetals. Physical properties of nonmetals. 10 of the 16 are gases at room temperature, so that's very different than the metals. Most of them are solid. They do not reflect light. They're dull. They do not conduct electricity or heat very well like metals do. And if you try to hammer them or lengthen them out into wires, they will break easily because they're brittle. Lastly, they have lower densities overall than metals. Chemical properties. Many are reactive. The ones further on the left side, closer to the zigzag line, would be more reactive. So they often combine with other elements to make compounds. Group 18, which is all the way to the right, the far right column on the periodic table, are called noble gases, and they do not react with any other element. Before we move on to metalloids, I would like you to take time to color all of the nonmetals, not the ones touching the zigzag line, but to the right side of that. All of them green. And you can also add that to your key in the top part of your periodic table chart. Lastly, we're going to move on to metalloids. In the bottom diagram, they are the dark blue area line, not including aluminum. Metalloids are called metalloids because they have some characteristics of both metals and nonmetals. So many metalloids are solid at room temperature. They could be shiny or they could be dull. So shiny like a metal, or they could be dull like a nonmetal. They usually can conduct electricity and heat, but not very well. And they also usually are ductile and malleable. I would like you to color these yellow. And go ahead and write that in the top part of your periodic table key. One thing that I did leave out earlier in the video is I want you to circle this top left box on the periodic table. It should be hydrogen. The one lonely element, hydrogen. Hydrogen has atomic number 1, and it is actually a nonmetal. You would think it should be a metal because it's located to the left of the staircase or zigzag line. However, hydrogen is a nonmetal and it also is a gas. The reason why it is listed in the top left-hand corner of the periodic table is because it is highly reactive, like a metal. We'll be talking about this element in further